All right. This is a story about the birth of my daughter. The prompt was baby. So we're in a hospital room at St. Anthony North Hospital in North Glen, Colorado. And my wife is giving birth to our first child. I can't believe that they let me sit in. Everything I've read about and everything my dad told me and so on implied that the dad is nowhere to be found when the baby is actually delivered. He's out in the waiting room handing out cigars or handing out, I don't know what. But no, I'm right in there, right in the midst of it. I'm witnessing a birth, an actual live birth for the first time in my life. And this is actually my kid. When Olivia pops out, we called her Olivia because we were confused about, we were torn about what to name her. We were going to name her Carly if she came out with blonde hair. And if she came out with dark hair, we're going to name her Olivia. Well, Olivia comes out 2 weeks early, little peanut with a huge head of hair. She looks like a middle-aged man. And I'm thinking, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. This is the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. By God, I'm a dad. So they put Olivia on my wife's chest and they get a chance to bond. But all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. The doctor who performed the delivery says that there's bleeding. Jennifer's bleeding and they can't stop it. They're going to have to give her emergency oxygen. My wife becomes a little disoriented. She says, well, what about the baby? What about Olivia? Can I hold Olivia? They take Olivia away. And they prep Jennifer, my wife, to take her to the OR for an emergency hysterectomy to stop the bleeding. So my wife's out there surrounded by nurses and doctors getting ready to be wheeled into the ER. And she looks at me and she says, James, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. They have her sign a waiver or something, and then they send her off. And that's the last I see of Jennifer for about 5 hours. I'm ushered into another waiting room because I guess they had to get the room we were in ready for another delivery. But I'm ushered into a waiting room, and it's really kind of cold in there. The fluorescent lights are buzzing a little bit and reflecting off the linoleum, the clean linoleum floor. And I'm sitting there wondering what just happened. First of all, I'm celebrating the birth of my daughter. And then the second thing I know, my wife has been wheeled off for emergency surgery. I don't know if she'll survive or if she'll die. I think it's a possibility that she might die. While I'm sitting there, one of the nurses in the maternity ward comes in, holding a little peanut, wrapped in swaddling clothes, for lack of a better term, wrapped in a baby blanket. It's Olivia. And she hands Olivia to me. I'm very hesitant about taking her. She's so light. She's so small. She's so fragile. But I'm her dad, and that's what dads do. So the nurse says, do you want to feed her? I'm thinking, really? Is that a job for the dad? But the nurse is asking like it's my responsibility. My child, my responsibility to feed her. So I say, okay. And the nurse gives me a small plastic bottle of baby formula. And she gets a Sharpie out of her smock or whatever, out of her hospital gown that she's been carrying around. And she draws a little line and says, don't let Olivia drink more than down to this line. So I'm holding Olivia like this, and I get the bottle. And as soon as I put it to Olivia's lips, her eyes widen and she sucks on it like there's no tomorrow, like she's never eaten in her whole life. She sucks on it with such gusto that I forget what the nurse told me. And Olivia drinks just a little more. I finally pull it away from her, and she looks into my eyes. That's when I knew. That's when I changed. That's when I knew that I was going to be a father, that I had become a father. I sat there for the rest of the afternoon holding Olivia in my arms, watching her sleep. wondering what would happen until finally Jennifer was wheeled out of the ER. As a kicker to the story, the first time I saw Jennifer after her operation, first time I saw my wife, she looked at me and she lifted her finger and she said, I told you we needed to get life insurance, but did you listen to me? That's the story.